KWT slaying.
Salama family, salama, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored on this Shabbat. All right, we're gonna have wonderful supernatural interventions and stories of the Most High's power in the lives of His people. All right, Minister, tell you say hi to family.
Shabbat Shalom. How y'all doing, family?
Twins, daughters of Yah, say hi to the family.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hebrew Israelite me, say hi to the family.
Shalom, family.
All glory to Yah, say hi to family.
Shalom, shalom, family.
All right, I'm glad y'all coming on to share your stories with the family. And at the end, I'm also going to read one that someone had sent to me. All right, so I would like to start first with my story. And I don't know, Minister T, if you want to go second or you want to go last, however.
I'll go second.
Okay. All right. So a lot of y'all heard my story before, and my brother was intimately involved in it. And so I'll just repeat it here. So when I first moved to the first time I moved to Texas, my wife, she used to work real late. And so she would come home around midnight. And so she would stop at what was it? I think it was Tom Thumb. Yeah, she would stop at Tom Thumb. And I told her, I said, look, it's too late. It'd be midnight. No need for you to be stopping at Tom Thumb. Come straight home. She's like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So for like a whole week, I was having this waking vision. First time I ever had it. Last time I ever had a waking vision. So in this waking vision, I would see my wife coming in the parking lot, and she was being mugged. And I would see all of this in my spirit. I could see it clear as day, and it was nighttime, of course. And so I'm seeing this for like a whole week. And so on a Friday, I fell asleep, and I see this vision again. And so I wake up, I'm talking to my brother. I call my brother. I say, look, I keep having this vision of my wife coming home and getting mugged. And I told him, I said, but the Most High told me, don't jump off the balcony, because we was on the second floor.
So mind you, I mean, we're on the phone, we're talking. He's telling me about this vision. He's breaking down the details. He mentioning, like he said, don't jump off the balcony. Now, right? He's telling me the story, and go ahead, continue.
So the Most High would tell me, and this was happening for a whole week, mind you. Don't jump off the balcony, because if you jump off the balcony, you're gonna sprain your ankle, right? So I'm on the phone. I'm talking to my brother. It's about midnight. My wife coming home late. Guess what? She went and stopped at Tom Thumb again, right? You know how sometimes y'all do, but anyway. And so I go walk out on the balcony, and my wife is getting mugged. And I see this whole thing going down. I say, "Hey, you!" And so the guy grabbed her purse, right? And so my first instinct was to jump off the balcony. That was my first instinct. But I remember, if you jump off the balcony, you're gonna sprain your ankle. And so, mind you, I was on the phone with my brother telling him the story at the time that this was happening.
Right. I'm a firsthand witness while it's going live.
Yeah,
right?
while it's going live. And so as I decide, okay, I'm not going to jump off the balcony, I run down the stairs to go help my wife. Now, the interesting thing is that the mugger did not get her wallet or her keys, because she had it in the grocery bag. So he grabbed the purse, right? But he didn't get none of her stuff. So that's my story. I had a witness to it right there, Minister Tayu, and Minister Tayu could give you his supernatural intervention by the Most High.
Yeah, I would say this is the most impactful. But I mean, he's intervened in all kinds of ways, even on the simple things. You know, when you don't expect him to intervene, and he intervenes, and you're like, well, you really didn't have to intervene for that, and he does it anyway. You know, so I have those two. But this one, you know, my son was, I guess he was about 3. We had the newborn. I was with the newborn in the stroller. My wife was maybe. So we're at Mardi Gras parade, and so my wife's maybe about maybe 8 to 10 feet away from me. So I say, "Where's B?" Right, my boy. She look at me. We look at each other. We look, and he's over by the float, reaching for a bead, and he's gonna get rolled over. And we looked at each other in panic, and it was like, there's nothing we can do. He's gonna get rolled over. So all of a sudden, my wife standing at the float, grabbing his hand, pulling him away. She was nowhere close enough to get to him, but instantly she was there, grabbing his hand, pulling him from the float. Now you might think, well, maybe that is Tayu's experience, but no, my wife experienced this together with me, where she was one place and ended up with his hand in her hand, pulling him, I'm sorry, from the float and saving his life. And we're like, did you experience what I experienced? Yeah. This is what happened, right? Yeah, this is what happened. You know. So once again, you know, I have confirmation. Yacoba had confirmation of what happened. So that's my story.
So my brother was confirmation for me of a supernatural event, and for him, it was his wife who was confirmed his supernatural event. Twins, daughters of y'all, how y'all doing? Do you want to share with the family your supernatural experience?
Sure. We had 2 things we were gonna share, if it's okay. And shalom to everybody, and we give all praise to the Most High Yah for him being so merciful and good. So what happened, we're both in the medical field, and we were in our first year of medical school, which starts in like May. So you, during your first year, you take a lot of classes, and one of them is gross anatomy class. So in gross anatomy, people donate their bodies to be, used to learn from in science. So we spent, literally, it was 11 months going over everything inside of the body, under the skin, which is so amazing. It seems like if you were an atheist, you could just do gross anatomy and you wouldn't be an atheist anymore. But anyway, so we are at this conference. This is that following year in April. We are at this conference with all these other medical students, and that first night, everybody had kind of been out and drinking and all that. We didn't feel like doing that. So we went to bed, and we got up early the next morning. And so we just said, well, we'll just go walk on the beach. We're not going to do anything, just enjoy it. It's so pretty to be outside. We were in Miami, Florida. And so we were fully dressed and everything. We went on to the beach just to walk, just enough for the water to just kind of hit our feet. And neither one of us can swim. So we don't play around when it comes to water. And so all of a sudden we're walking and we get completely engulfed in water, to where it's almost like something pulled us in the water, both of us, and we're not touching the bottom and bobbing up or anything. We are completely drowning. And so we're panicking. And in the moment, we kind of both, afterwards, we were thinking the same thing, like, Lord, how is this happening? I don't want to die. I don't want my sister to die. I can't do this without her. It was just so terrifying. And so out of nowhere, this man appears and he grabs my sister up in his right arm, and then he grabs me in his left arm, and he just starts walking to the shore. He does not say one word, right?
Right.
He doesn't say one word, and he just walks, and then he puts us on the sand on the shore. And so, while he picked us up in the water, we're panicking. I mean, we're acting a complete fool. We scratching them, fighting. You know what you do when you can't swim and you panic. And so, anyway, once we get to the shore, this crowd of people had come around us, and it's in the morning, like 9 o'clock or something. So we were the only brown people on the beach. Everybody else was white. But it still seemed like everybody kept staring at us before this happened. So anyway, a crowd of people kind of got around us, and we were coughing and panicking. And then we were saying, where's the man? Where's the man who got us out of the water? And they were saying, well, what man? And we like, you saw that man. Like, I was so frustrated because I'm thinking you were staring at us,
Right.
and we 5'4". I know you saw this man. So all of a sudden, they're like, we don't see a man. We're looking everywhere, every direction, north, south, east, west. We do not see him. And so they say, well, what did the man look like? And this is the most amazing part. 20 years later, we realized he was dark brown skin, like brown skin. He had locks that were so beautiful. We were like, it has to be a loctician in heaven, because his locks were so long but orderly and just so beautiful. And his hair, when he picked us out of the water, it was kind of split in the back, so his locks were hanging down in the front. But remember, we had just done the 11 months of gross anatomy, so all I think at the time is nerves and arteries and muscles. So I'm like, what kind of man is this? His trapezius muscle was so defined, and I'm thinking, like, is this? It just did not make sense. So at that point, we just were frustrated with the people on the beach, and just frustrated, honestly, about like, why did this happen to us? And so we were holding hands. We went back to our hotel room, and we called our parents and my mom. We told her the story, and we said, Mom, this is what happened. And she said, well, baby, that was an angel. And we said, yeah. And I said, Mama, he was black though. So
so this was before you awoken to be in Israel, huh?
way before. And it was frustrating because we were traumatized, to be honest. We were traumatized, like barely able to talk to each other. But we started to tell a few people, and it was like no one believed us, y'all. It was so disheartening, because we're honest people, and integrity matters to us. But we got to a point, we told some people, and it was obvious. People are like, no, you must have just missed him. He went back in the water. And I'm like, does that make sense? Does that make sense? So we stopped talking about it for years and years. And then in 2017, it was when we woke up, and we had seen Pastor Omar as the first person who helped us to awaken. And then, we told him and his wife the story, and they believed us. We could tell as soon as we were telling them, they believed us. And it was such a weight. And so we always said, if we get a chance to tell Minister Yacoba and tell you, what happened, we want to, because you've played such a pivotal role in so many lives. I know y'all don't like for people to say you're prophets and all that, but anyway, that's the first experience.
So isn't it interesting that once again, two people experience the same supernatural event?
That's right.
That's the Most High for you.
Yes.
I know y'all didn't want to have that supernatural event happen while you're almost drowning, but at least he showed up.
Telling me.
We just give him the glory. And then I was going to share a short thing that happened with me. And 6 years later, after that event, I had just gotten married. And about a month after getting married, one day I had a horrible, horrible headache. And then I had my sister came over, and she recognized that something was wrong. I was a little confused. So they took me to the ER. And by the time we got there, we're sitting in the admin office, and the lady asked me my birth date, and I didn't know it. Mm-hmm. And then I remember being so afraid, because I had the presence of mind to recognize something is going on with me. And I was scared. Mm-hmm. And Nicole, she told the lady our birthday. So then next thing I know, I wake up hours later, I'm in the ICU. And what happened was I had a huge blood clot in my brain. What my family had to go through, though, was when they first saw the mass on my brain, they told them, yeah, she has a mass on the brain. It's probably cancer that's spread from somewhere else. And my sister was able to say, no, she had a recent scan for something else. That can't be it. And it just so happened that the doctor that was on call was a doctor who worked in the same hospital that I did some years previously. And because we were the only two Black women, people always confused us and paged us for each other's patients and all of that. So I know it was the Most High's will that she was on call that night, because she came in and she was a help to us. The challenge was I had a big clot on my brain, but I also was bleeding, which is a problem. It causes your brain to swell, and you don't have a lot of room there. Once your brain swells, if you don't do something about it, imminent danger is really what happens in most cases. And so the doctor told my family, okay, we'll see if she makes it overnight. She may not make it, but if she does make it, then we'll plan to do a procedure called a burr hole, where they put a hole in your skull to relieve some of the pressure in the brain. But before they were going to do it, she was going to do one more scan in the morning. So then she came in that next morning looking crazy. And she was like, I don't know how to explain this to you other than to say it's a miracle. But somehow overnight, she has grown new blood vessels around this blood clot. And she was like, I don't mean that the blood vessels that were there rerouted. It's like new blood vessels that developed around this clot. And I don't know what to say other than it's a miracle. And I thank the Most High for that, because then what happens later, a few days later, I wake up, and because I was in so much pain, I wasn't saying much. I was moaning. And then I said a few words like Jesus, I was able to say. I didn't know his Hebrew name. And I could say bathroom. But other than that, I didn't say much. And what happened was it affected my cognition, my cognitive abilities, and it affected my speech. So when I woke up fully, I was a different person. Here I was with all this education, and I couldn't add 2 + 2. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't do anything. And when I tell you, I was so down and I was so out. And then my family, thank the Most High, we have a father who is a man of faith, and he literally, it's like the word just pours out of him. So every time some negative report came up, he wouldn't just say, oh, God got us. He's gonna quote the word of God over me. And what ended up happening was I had to go through a lot of speech therapy and relearn how to calculate, how to write, how to read, and all of that. But the Most High, He fully restored me, and I'm so grateful for that. It's a testimony to His power, and I feel like something supernatural happened in that hospital room where somebody came in and did like a bypass on that blood clot, and I just give Him all the glory and all the praise.
Amen.
Great testimony. See, the Most High is with His people. We're gonna see a lot of that in the future. Hebrew Israelite meet. What's your testimony?
Hello, family. Well, I have quite a few. Since the Most High y'all called me, and I only think that He deals with me in sorry, I'm just waking up. In such a manner because I was so naive when He first called me. So He told me one day, He said, I was sitting in my house. He says, get up, go get your sister's kid. She's about to have her baby. And so I said to him, he just talking in my spirit. And I said, Lord, she's not about to have that baby. It's weeks before she had that baby. So I sat down. He said, I said, get up and go and get your sister's kid. She's about to have that baby. And I said, okay, Lord, if you say so. And I'm talking back. And I said, but Lord, you know she's not about to have that baby. It's weeks before she had that baby. So I get up and I get in the cab. At the time I didn't drive. And so I get up in the cab and I go drive to her house. She around the corner from me. And I told the cab to wait downstairs. I said, because I'm going to be right down. So I run upstairs and I said, Brenda, I said, give me the kids. The Lord said, you about to have a baby. She said, it's weeks before I had that baby. But if you want these kids, you can have these kids because I need a break. So she had them in 0 seconds flat. She threw their bags together, and she said that she was looking out the window. She stayed on the 4th floor. She said she was looking out the window when we got in. She said when we got in the car, she says, open the door. She said, I let the kids get in first. She said, and I was the last one to get in. She says the door was closing, her water broke. So anywho, and there's another. The Lord said to me, He said, get up. And my daughter was 16 at this time. And she was a homeschool child. She's 33 now. But He said, get up and go and get your daughter. I said, what? He said, get up and go to your daughter's job and go and get her. Now, mind you, she worked an hour and a half away from where we lived. And I said, what? He said, you love your daughter? I said, yeah. He said, get up and go get your daughter. He did not tell me why to go and get my daughter. He just said, go get your daughter. So I said, okay. And so I'm getting ready. He said, you're moving too slow. Get up and go get your daughter. And so I started rushing because he said I was moving too slow. Mind you, he never told me what it was. So I arrived at her job. And when I arrived at her job, she said it was at the time she was getting off. She said, oh, mother, she's very proper. Oh, mother, what are you doing here? And I said, the Lord told me to come get you. And she said, really? And so she happy and she excited because it's the first time I ever been to her job. And she had been at this job for about a year. She's 16. So she said, okay. She said, you want something to eat? I said, no. God said, we don't have time. Let's go. And so we made it home. She said, God said, I don't have time. That don't make any sense. Mother, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. So anywho, we make it home. We get settled in. It's late at night. And we start getting phone calls. And it was people from her job constantly calling. They said, as we were going out, now, you know, those revolving doors, they said, as we were going out, the masked gunmen were coming in. Now, I said, oh my God. I said, oh Lord. They said, and they kept asking us, did y'all see the people before they put the mask on? We didn't see anybody. But anywho, all I know is God. And then she looked at me because she said, I made no sense. She says this to me a lot. You know, I made no sense. And once I had just moved to a new state and I had bought a beautiful furniture set. You know, you just getting started all over again. So I bought a beautiful furniture set. And, you know, when I got it, they did not give me, they gave me the floor room display. You know, the floor room display had beads all over it. So I'm upset. It vexed my spirit, you know, because I didn't pay for the floor room display. I paid for one that it looked exactly the same as the floor room display, but not the one that with the beads all over it, a new one, you know. So I called them and tried to work everything out. Been calling for a month and trying to, and they oh, we're gonna send it to you, and they never did. Oh, we're gonna send it this today, never did. And so I'm upset. You know, you upset. People play with your money and play with you, you know. So I said, you know what? That's okay. I'm going down there. So I took me a straight razor And I'm standing at the bus stop. I'm like, I told you, I don't know how to drive, so I took me a straight razor. I said, I'm gonna cut up every piece of furniture on that floor room display floor. And this, I'm saying, Lord, I can't believe they playing me like this. I serve God, but y'all, I'm sorry. I get upset too sometimes. But I'm waiting at the bus stop, and so I see this man, and he had on this blue suit. It looked like he's all I could think of is a mechanic or a factory worker or something like that. He wasn't dirty looking, but he just had on like a blue suit like they would wear with their little name, look like a little name tag on him. And so he looked at me and he told me, don't you cut up that furniture on that display room floor. Do not do that. You go in there and talk to him and I stood like a stone. I said to myself, Lord, how did he know what I was going to do? So I knew who it was, because how did he know? I don't know this man, never seen him before in my life. How did he know what I was going to do? Another one, and I'll just say, I won't say the person's name, but the Lord came to me and he said, go tell this person, don't touch their girlfriend's daughter. He said, don't touch their girlfriend's 13-year-old daughter. I said, what? I said, Lord, how am I going to tell that person? I haven't talked to this individual in over a year. I said, I don't even know if they still dating that girl. And I do know, because God didn't already told me. He said, do not tell them, do not touch their girlfriend's 13-year-old daughter. I said, Lord, that person going to curse me out. I said, because I can't go to somebody and tell them don't touch their girlfriend's 13-year-old daughter. He said, do you love that person? I said, well, yeah. He said, well, tell him. I picked up the phone, looked for his number, picked up the phone, gave him a call. I said, please don't curse me out. I said, the Lord told me to tell you this. I said, please don't curse me out. I said, are you still dating that girl that I saw you with at the family reunion? He said, yes. I said, do she have a 13-year-old daughter? Now, man, I'm asking the questions after what most high y'all already told me to say. He said, yeah, as a matter of fact, she do. I said, God just told me to tell you, do not touch her 13-year-old daughter, you going to jail. And so I'm waiting to get cussed out. He said, you know what? That was God that told you to tell me that, because her daughter just came and sat in my lap and kissed me, and I pushed her out my lap and told her that was inappropriate. I said, oh, Lord, have mercy. So anywho, there's another one where the Lord said to me, he said, get up and go make your friend some corned beef and cabbage. He said, no, I had just made the corned beef and cabbage. He said, go get your friend some of this corned beef and cabbage you just made. I said, Lord, why do I have to go get him corned beef and cabbage? He have a live-in maid. Now, man, I'm the servant that always want a reason with God. That's always want to negotiate or talk back. I don't call it. It is talking back. I don't care what I call it. That's what it is. Always want a reason. Okay, now. Yeah. So I said he have servants, Lord. I said he have a live-in maid. He have people that wait on him hand and foot. If he want corned beef and cabbage, they'll cook it. He don't need me to do anything. He said, go take him some of the corned beef and cabbage. The very next day, I went and saw him. And I'm sitting down there talking to him, an old man. He said, oh, I wanted me some corned beef and cabbage so bad yesterday, I darn it passed out. I just passed out because I did not obey the voice of the Lord that time. I didn't obey. So there's another one. Well, look, there was a man who lived next door to me. I don't talk to the man, can't even tell you his name, but all I know is he was a very nice looking Israelite young man, dressed real good, smelled real good. He never had any company, was real quiet. And one day he was with this other nice looking Israelite man, a very nice looking Israelite man. And when I looked at him, the Lord said, the man who he with right now is the police. He finna bust him for selling drugs. I'm like, he sell drugs. I'm like, Lord, but he quiet. He don't have any traffic at his door. I never hear anything. The very next day, the police was there kicking his door in. And I'm just saying, the Lord he just talks to me. He talks to me just like all day, just talk to me like nonstop. One day I'm at work and I'm having, I start having a headache. I start seeing double. I think somebody poisoned. I still say that to this day. Somebody poisoned my coffee because I always get up and, leave my desk. And I believe somebody poisoned my coffee because they hate to hear me. They hate me because I'm always talking about God. I don't never give them a break. I don't shut up. I talk about God morning, noon, day, night. That's my breakfast. That's my lunch. That's my dinner. So they hate, here she come with that again. Because one day they turned the lights off in the bathroom on me. The girls was at the sink and they were leaving out the stall. So they was at the sink. I washing their hands. And all of a sudden I hear them laugh and they turn the light off on me. So they hate me. But anywho, I'm at work. And so I get sick and I told my boss, I said, I got to leave. I got to go home. He said, if you leave, you fight. I said, peace. And so I left out. Because it was overwhelming. I didn't want to leave because I love this job. But he said, if you leave, you fight. I said, peace. And I walked out and I went home. As I'm home, the Lord said, when you get home, he said, your daughter have a brain aneurysm. He said, do not panic. I'm going to let her nose bleed. What that meant, I don't know. I have been doing research on that since, because at that time we didn't have internet. There was no such thing as the internet other than with the military, you know, and we only thing we had was yellow pages and the internet. So he said, I'm going to let her nose bleed. Do not panic. I'm going to save her life. So I make it home. And as soon as I make it home, I sit down on the couch. I said, wow. Because it's blowing my mind. So after I sit on the couch for a minute, because I'm scared, so I go upstairs and I look at her and she's sleeping. So I come back down and I sit on the couch again. About 2 minutes later, she come downstairs, blood everywhere, just rushing from her nose, blood like I've never seen before in my life. And so she said, mother, and she's screaming. And I looked at it. I did not panic because he told me don't panic. And so I did not panic. I said, you okay? I said, go wash your face and go lay back down. I didn't get up and rush her to the hospital. I didn't do anything because he had already prepared me for it. Another one, I had a girlfriend, and my girlfriend, I love her to itty bitty pieces, and she was the only Black girl who lived in my area. So you know how we needy. We want friends so bad. So she was nice, and she lived just a house down, and she stayed on her guy had her a beautiful house built on the lakefront, everything in the house custom made, and so she didn't have to work, but she did work, but she didn't have to. So she just picked up little odd jobs every now and then. So I would go around there and visit her, and hang out with her, and we'll sit back and we'll have us some dinner and a wine cooler and watch a couple movies. And she was fun to hang out with. Well, one particular day I'm walking around her house, and the Most High Yah, even before I left the house, he was talking to me. He said, don't go over her house anymore. He said her boyfriend he wants to have sex with you. He is going to kill you. He is going to bury your body in his basement, and she not gonna do anything about it because he her bread and butter. He said she gonna feel sorry for you, but she's not gonna do anything about it because he is her bread and her butter. And so I shook it off. I shook that thought off. I'm like, oh no, Lord, don't say that. Don't say that. Man, I'm young in my walk. This is probably in 1990. So I'm shaking the thought off. I'm like, Lord, don't say that. Don't say that. So I'm still walking over there, but he keeps saying, and then he's getting louder and louder. He's more persistent. He said, don't go over our house. Her friend wants to have sex with you. He is going to kill you. He is going to bury your body in his basement. He said she gonna feel sorry for you, but there's nothing she's going to do because he is her bread and her butter. So I make it over her house, and I'm sitting down. She made us some cookies. We sit down, we watching a picture, and we just talking. And all of a sudden, he lets it come out her mouth. She said, hey, Ray, my God said he want to. That's talks like a little baby. And she said, he wants to. And I said, don't say that about my brother. Went through. She's confirming what the Most High Yah said, because any woman on this chat can tell you if they were ever dating a guy, married to a guy, engaged to a guy, and he said that he wanted to be intimate with their friend, it's a wrap. As soon as they come out your mouth, pack your clothes. I'm gonna be packing mine at the same time they came out your mouth. So when she said that, it was like, ice water went through my veins. I jumped up, grabbed my stuff, and I got out of there, and I haven't been back since. But I kept shaking it off. I kept trying to shake God off. Don't say that. It's been so many times that the Most High Yah, I could be on here all day because it's been so many times because he talked to me all day and all night, and it was my brother. I had a dream about my brother, and the dream about my brother shook me to my core. This is my baby brother. He looks identical to me. It shook me to my core, and I rarely ever have a dream about anybody in my family. But I had a dream that he owns a store. He owns a couple stores. But I had a dream that somebody came into one of his stores, and they were trying to sell him some telephones, and the guy shot him in the head. And so when the guy shot him in the head, I woke up. And I woke up and I called my brother. I said, John, I said, somebody going to come to your store, and they're going to try to sell you some telephones, and they're going to shoot you in the head. I said, whatever you do not deal with these people that's trying to sell you some telephone. He said, that's funny you said that. He said, that was God said that. He said, it'll be because for the last month, in which I did not know, because know, you work, Pharaoh have us working so hard in this captivity, time to talk to your family all the time. Say you talk to your brothers to sometimes twice a year, because Pharaoh worked the heck out of me. But anywho, so I called. So he said that was God told me that. He said for the last month he had been having a dream every single night that he got shot ahead. He said, and every single night he wake up with a real bad migraine and he can't shake this migraine. He said he don't know what to do about this migraine. He been taking aspirins and everything. He said, and a man came in his shop, tried to sell him 2 telephones, and he told the man that, look, he told the man he was gonna battle, but the man told him to meet him at some house way on the south side. And so he was going to get the telephones on the south side. He said, but he remembered that he remembered this dream, and he remembered what I said. He said he turned off. He said, you know what? I'm not going to get those phones. And he turned off on the expressway. And he said from that point that he didn't have a headache anymore, and that he never had that dream anymore. And I'm gonna stop right there because I'm not gonna try to take up all the time. But I mean, I have so many when the Most High Yah, with the Most High Yah have dealt with me. He has showed me visions of the future of the wilderness. I see the wilderness. I see the healing that's gonna take place in the wilderness. I have visions of the.
So Hebrew Israelites, when do we leave for the second Exodus? Then did the Most High tell you that yet? I just want.
Oh my God. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna tell you one thing. I know it had to be soon, and I'm gonna tell you why it had to be soon. Because I was in the process of buying a house, and every time I get in the process of trying to buy the house, somebody outbid me, and so we get in a bidding war. I bid 10, then they'll bid 20, and we just get in a bidding war. And I'm like, Lord, and I cried out to Abba. I said, Lord, why do you keep letting these people outbid me? Why do you keep letting the house be gone by the time I make it there? I talked to my realtor. I'll be there tomorrow. He said, what time? He said, I'll be. I said, just made it online. I'll be there tomorrow morning at 8. It's real early. I said, I give the people time to get out of the bed, and it's gone. Somebody else didn't put a bid in, and they accepted the offer. And so I got upset, and I was like, Lord, I'm your servant. I'm serving you. Why are you letting these things happen? And I was so frustrated, and I cried out to him in frustration, and he told me, you don't have time. And that was last year. Now I'm a carpenter by trade. So that means if I get a house, it'll take me, I know how long it'll take, about 1.5 years to fix the house up. So God told me it don't have time. I wanted to get a house that was really pretty, but I wanted to put my final touches to it. Marble floors, that kind of stuff, but he said, you don't have time. So if I don't have time, he know how long it take me to get things done. Evidently, my focus would have been in the wrong place. So I don't know. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I know it's soon. And I see visions of us living. I see visions of us all on different legs of him collecting all of us from getting paid from. See that because I keep seeing visions of it every single day.
So can you
Most
repeat
of the time
what
I
you
spend my
just said?
time with God. Like I ain't gonna.
Can you repeat what you just said? Because you broke up right at the time you were telling us, right?
I'm sorry. I see it. God keep letting me have visions every day of us going on multiple legs of the journey in this walk. And we picking up other Israelites wherever we were enslaved in this captivity, and us getting our payment. We getting sheep and gold and silver, and I even seen the ships that God gonna put us on. It's called freedom ships. Saints, when you get a second, type it in the internet. It's called freedom ships. When I first looked at it, it said Edom ships. I'm like, Lord, we going on Edom ships? When he told me to look at it, I said, Edom ships. And I said, and then I saw a tree covering up FRE. Yes. And then because all I saw was EDOM. So we're gonna be free from Edom. But anywho, that's yes, that's how I think. But anywho, it's called freedom ships. When you get a second, type in freedom ships and see how glorious God is going to set us up on this deliverance. This second Exodus is going to be a doozy. I call it the second Exodus and the second baptism. That's what I call it, because Lord said when we walked out of Egypt the first time, it was a wall of water on our right side and a wall of water on our left side, right? And I was thinking, please forgive me, saints. I was thinking it was like 7 feet or something like that. Do you know the Red Sea like 7,200 feet to 9,000 feet deep in different parts? So that means it was a wall of water that we could not even see the end of. And you know, our forefathers was praying, Lord, please don't let that water come down, because you know they ain't having faith. You know what I'm saying? So Lord, please don't let it come down. I say it's the second baptism, because the Lord said he baptized us the first time leaving, right? And then I see the Lord keeps showing me visions of us leaving the second Exodus, and there's going to be a wall of fire on one side and a wall of fire on the other side, and we're going to walk through fire, like he said in Isaiah 43. When you walk, will be with you. When you walk through fire, I'm going to be with you. So the first Exodus was a water baptism. The second Exodus is going to be a fire baptism. The Lord say there'll come one that's going to baptize you by fire. We're going to be tried by fire. The Lord is this second Exodus is going to be a doozy. It's going to be terrifying. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be glorious, all in one. But the Lord said we ain't going to talk about the first Exodus no more. So what is he going to do that we're not going to talk about the first Exodus no more? He is about to do some stuff. Y'all is going to do some stuff. Oh my Yah. He is going to do something, because I was just reading now what he said. I'm going to make the daughter of Zion like a threshing instrument. I said, Lord, I don't want to fight. And I said, you know what, I'm done with telling you, God, what I don't want to do. Lord, if you gonna give me some supernatural powers, let me thresh. Let me thresh. He said, we're going to thresh our enemies. We're going to thresh mountains on our way out. So in other words, there's not going to be any obstacles on your way out. I don't care if you're in battle. I don't care if the enemy is invading us while we on our way out. Lord said we are going to thresh our enemies on our way out the door. He said we're going to thresh mountains and make it into a hill. Y'all know the scriptures. You're going to thresh mountains and make it into a hill. So you're going to say, remove mountain. You have faith and it's going to be removed. And he's going to make us a threshing. We're going to be doing some stuff on our way out the door.
See, I believe that. That's why I believe, the Gentiles going to be drawn to the brightness of our rising, because we going to be doing miracles. Yeshua said that, greater works than these we all going to do. He was talking to the Israelite. But let me move on, so Hebrew. I can listen to you all day, but I got to get the rest of us in.
Okay, peace.
All right. All glory. What's your testimony? Welcome.
Shalom, everybody. My testimony took place while I was working for a construction site, well, a construction company, and I don't want to say their names, but it was basically a guy that owned it. He was, I would say, more of like an imposter. I would say that for us, but I was working on, I would say, lights that were on the bridge, and it was like I would say it was a town outside of Austin. And it was just me, my coworker, and my foreman was there. And we were just working just normally. It was just a normal day. And just during my lunch break, I was looking on YouTube, because I scroll YouTube a lot, and I was looking through the comments, and then some woman, she was a Gentile. She was asking people, who do you think the anti-Mashiach is? And so I was kind of reluctant to answer it, but I was like, you know what? The Most High was telling me to go ahead and reveal to her who it was. So I typed the name of the guy, which, I mean, if y'all want me to tell y'all, I'll let you know. But,
let us know. I'm curious.
Okay.
Is it Obama? I know a lot of people say Obama, but go ahead.
Everybody says Obama, but his name is David Mir Rothschild. That's the guy that I said in the comments. And so, I mean, afterwards, I say maybe like 20 minutes into our lunch break, we were I guess it was like we were in between a bridge, and so there was like noticeably it was a snake, and it literally went from, and it was huge. It was really big. I mean, it was like anaconda big. I've been to zoos. I've seen, snakes that were huge, but this one was abnormally big. Big enough, like tree big. And so it went like from underneath from one side of the bridge onto the other side of the bridge. And it went, there was like a pond that was separating me and the snake. And so it went to the other side. And to tell you the truth, I was petrified. I was scared. I was just like, oh crap, like what did I really open up here? And so like me and my coworker, he saw it and he just started throwing rocks at it. And I was just like, I was about to pee myself the whole time. But then I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna start throwing rocks at it too. And when you was like literally looking at me, like going around in circles, looking at me the whole entire time. And then I was like, you know what? He's not going away. And so like, I was saying in my mind, I was like, Husham Mashiach, I need help here. And as soon as like I said that, like that snake, it like went away. And it just went somewhere else. And I mean, that story stuck with me because I mean, that happened in real life. It's not making anything up. That was a real deal. I mean, my coworker, I can call him up right now, and he could tell you the story about that.
So so this was on the job, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for your testimony. Y'all's woman, what's your testimony?
Praise Yah, praise Yah. Thank you for giving me an opportunity and all of us an opportunity to share our stories. I have many, 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 so I'm just cutting it way down. And one of the most epic ones was when I was about 7 years old. And I was at a park. I grew up in Portland, Oregon. And I was at a park with me.
You breaking up a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And so somehow I got separated from my family and I was wading in this lake and I stepped off of a rock in the, or a little plateau, wherever I was standing in the water. I made one step and all of a sudden I was pulled into an undercurrent. So this kind of reminds me of the twin daughters of Yah, where I almost drowned. And the undercurrent was pulling me under. And as I went down the third time, because I was struggling coming up and trying to gasp for air, and as I went down the third time, my life flashed before me. I was only 7, so that wasn't a long flash. It was like real quick. I saw my life flash before me. And all of a sudden I looked down and there was a hand about the span of a foot, about a foot wide, came up under my feet, both my feet, and set me on a rock where my head was just above the water. And when I looked up, I saw my father and one of my brothers running across the top of a ridge to dive in the water to come get me. And I know I had gone down the third time, and I know that if God had not intervened, if y'all had not intervened, I would have drowned before they even had gotten to me. And so that was my very first introduction to the Most High. I had no idea about a God or the Most High or anything. And in that instant, at 7 years old, I knew that there was somebody with a higher power than myself. And one of the most recent ones is just, well, this month, the Most High had impressed upon me to go on a fast. And mind you, I would fast like 3 days, just water, and I could do that, And the thing is, back in 2016, I was in a really bad car accident, and the car that hit me head on, it also somehow hit me on the driver's side as well, and I broke my left shoulder, my left hip, and I had damaged my low back. I had bulging discs. I had all kind of issues going on. My right wrist was messed up. And so, over the years and not being so young, you don't heal like you used to.
Yeah.
And so I had all these issues. And during that span, I would go on 3-day fast, you know, drinking water. So fasting wasn't, you know, I was familiar with that. And but this time when just about 2 weeks ago, actually the 16th, the Most High impressed upon me to go on a fast. And
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. You went silent for a second, but I hear you now.
yeah, I'm just, I'm trying to get the story. I can't hardly talk sometimes when I think about it. But I knew somehow this fast was going to be different. And he instructed me to do fresh squeezed vegetable juice, like to juice carrots and kale and spinach and celery and beets and stuff like that, and just drink it every day. That's all I had was a cup of juice in the morning and a cup in the evening. The rest of the day was water. And so, you know, I had said, okay, well, I'll go about 20 days, 21 days, see how I feel. But by the third day, I got out of bed and I realized that my back wasn't hurting. I've been in pain every single day since 2016. I mean, excruciating pain. I couldn't sleep without my back feeling like it was on fire. I walked with a limp for the past 6-7 years. And so I realized that my back is not hurting. And all of a sudden I bend over and touch my toes. I haven't done that in years. And I was like, okay, you know, and I could feel something happening in my body. And mind you, you know, I prayed for other people, laid hands on them and prayed, and felt the power of God surge through my body like electricity, surge through my body, and these people would be healed. And yet I was limping away. And I would say, Father, you know, can't you just leave a little bit in there for me? Touch my back and my hip, touch my body. Because if God did not heal me, if the Most High did not heal me, I would not be healed. I wasn't going to the doctor. And so by day 7, I went to put on my shoes and socks to walk to the mailbox, which is about maybe half a block away, actually. And I sat down on the stool by my bed and I just threw my left foot up over my knee and put my sock on. And when I realized what I had done and I put my foot down, I was like, wait a minute. And then I just threw my foot back up there again just to check, double check, make sure that was really happening. So by day 7, the Most High had healed my hip. So I kept on fasting. Mind you, I've never gone past 3 days, but I kept going. And it seemed like every milestone, the Most High was healing something. By day 11, I have to tell you, I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. And my thyroid was swollen to the point where you could see it sticking from my neck. I had it for 15 years. And when you have hyperthyroid, sometimes you develop what they call, I can't even think right now. But it causes your eyes to bulge. So my eyes were beginning to bulge. Graves' disease. It's called Graves' disease. And your eyes begin to bulge and actually protrude from your head. And my eyes had begun to bulge so badly till I was beginning to be self-conscious about it. And by day 11 of this fast, not only had my throat, my thyroid gone back to normal size, I could feel a sensation in my throat when it happened. I felt it shrinking. And so I ran to the mirror to look in the mirror at my throat, and my thyroid shrunk back down to normal size. And when I looked up in the mirror, my eyes were back in my head. And this was just like 2 days ago. I realized my eyes had moved back into my head. I'm sorry. And those are that, you know, that was the most recent one. But, you know, the Most High, I've seen him work miracles. I've laid hands on people who have fallen down, dying. and seen them get up. So I know the power of the Most High. I've always known, because he's always used me, even as a child, to lay hands and people would be healed. So I've always known the power of the Most High. But what he showed me was that our body is the temple, and we must take care of our temple, because it's the temple of the Holy Spirit, of the Ruach. And it's so important, and it was really amazing how he guided me to juice these vegetables. And all the inflammation in my body has gone away. I have no pain. I've not felt pain since day 3 of this fast. I have no pain nowhere. I can run. I'm 63 years old. I can run. I can jump. I can exercise. I can ride a bike. I mean, it's so miraculous. And, I just can't praise the Most High enough. But I know this, that there's a scripture that I held on to, that the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits.
Yep.
I knew that.
I had hypothyroidism, and I would drop weight real fast.
Yes.
And my family would, oh, you dropping weight. You dropping weight. Good. I never realized that the illness that I was getting, because it happened to me twice, the illness that I was getting was because of hypothyroidism.
Yes.
And I was juice fasting as well. And I got healed, right? Yes. I got healed twice, so praise Yahuwah. And
yes.
Now I understand I need to continue juicing. And,
absolutely. And that's what I understand.
And I also cut meat out my diet, because I figured that had something to do with it.
Yes, because on this juice fast, it's been nothing but fresh fruits and juice and vegetables and water. And 2 nights ago, the last one was 2 nights ago, I was checking my blood pressure, because I was also diagnosed with high blood pressure. And even on medication, my blood pressure would still be like 162 over 90 something, always high, even on medicine.
Yeah, me
and
too.
So over the past week, since I noticed that on my medicine, my blood pressure had gone down, I kept checking my blood pressure. And the last time I took full medication, about 4 days ago, my blood pressure was 117 over 76. So I was like, wait a minute. So I said, well, let me just step it down gradually, because you should never I'm a retired nurse. You should never come off of certain medications abruptly. You have to kind of wean yourself off.
Yep.
So I started cutting my pills in half.
Me too.
Yeah. And so I noticed, I said, okay, after last night, I cut it in half. And I said, okay, when I take my blood pressure, and if it's down still or within normal range, I'm done. And I checked my blood pressure was 117 over 72. So I tell you, the Most High is in the miracle working business, and we will see more miracles as time goes on. But I know that he is a healer. He's my doctor, as they say in the church. He's a doctor in the sick room, and he's a lawyer in the courtroom.
Yep.
And I just give praise to the Most High, because he is so good, and he's always been there for me all my life. And I had a dream, and I'm done after this. I had a dream when I was 14 that I was an adult, and I saw myself as an adult, and I was running. I was running in this desert, and on one side of me was a mountain, and on the other side was desert. And I happened to be running across this rope bridge, and I didn't know what I was running from at first. And mind you, I was only 17, but I'm seeing myself as an adult. And I grew up in Portland, Oregon. I was nowhere near any desert. And so in the dream, as I ran across this bridge, there was an earthquake, a great earthquake, and the bridge crumbled. When I turned around, I realized I was being chased by this giant. And he was so angry that the bridge crumbled before he could come across after me, that he yelled out his name. Now, I had never heard this name before until my uncle told me who this was. But in the dream, I heard a loud, angry voice, and he yelled, Apollyon, like that. I'd never heard of Apollyon. And I went to my uncle and I asked him, who is Apollyon? And he looked at me and he asked me why. I told him about the dream. And he told me where to find Revelations 9. And it talks about Apollyon, the dragon from the pit that would be released. And my uncle looked at me, he said, oh my God, you're going to be here in the last days. And I laughed, I said, so are you. And he's still here. He's like at 76 or 77 years old. But I told him, so are you. But it's amazing because I live in the desert. I'm in Arizona. And for all these things, many dreams that I've had, and even this one in particular, gave me a gauge to know what times this would be, that this is the end times. And that's how he would deal with me. You know, I had never heard that we were the Hebrews, but the Most High downloaded that in my spirit. Just Luke 21 and 24 came to me, and the part that said, and the Gentiles, so Jerusalem shall be trodden underfoot of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles, it made me stop. And it was for the first time. I've known that scripture. I was like, wait a minute, Lord, if those are, or if Jerusalem will be trodden underfoot of the Gentiles, who are those people over there? And the Most High said, Revelations 2 and 9. I know those that say they are Jews and are not. And I tell you, it was downloading so fast in my spirit till it was almost like I had to ask him, hold on, wait. It was just coming so fast. And for some reason I went to the internet thinking I could find something. I wasn't real savvy. But Brother Jacoba are one of the very first people that I came across that was talking about this. You and Pastor Steve Darby, you know, a couple of others that was talking about this. And I've learned so much from you and your, you know, your, when you would do your studies and everything. And you're so right on point. I have so many dreams that have happened, and everything you're talking about, I'm seeing, you know, everything that's happening, even down to the robots. When I was 12, I saw the robots that they have today. And they thought I was crazy when I was growing up. But anyway, I'll cut it there. And I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to share.
Thank you for sharing, y'all's woman. Jewel Hill, what's your testimony? You have to unmute yourself.
Praise the Most High. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I think I'll just pick up where the sister just left off in terms of healing. I'm presently healing from COVID. Had me in hospital and in rehab for almost 2 months. Had to learn how to walk all over again. But all that time, I kept hearing, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." But what I came on to share, something that happened. It happened actually even before. It happened even before I got into the church. I had been in the church. I'm 76 years old. I've been in the church for 30 plus years. But at this time, when this happened, I was about in my early 20s. It was around the time I think Malcolm had just been murdered. I was still learning. I was beginning to learn about our history and about slavery and so on. And I'm from New York. I was in Brooklyn. So it's kind of a cultural revolution going on. African things, dashiki wearing afros was the radical thing back then. And I was in my room. I had been, like I said, reading and studying. I like to read. And I've been reading and studying about what we had gone through, some of what we had gone through. And I was just so hurt and so frustrated about what I was learning about what our history. And I just cried out. Now I wasn't in the church. I didn't know anything about I didn't know about our Savior or anything. But I just cried out from my heart. And I said, why are we treated like this? Why has this been done to us? What have we done to deserve this? You know, not only here, but everywhere around the world, it seems that we are mistreated and disrespected and beaten up and harmed and killed and murdered. Why is this happening to us? And as clearly as I'm talking to you now, I heard in my spirit, like everything went black around me, but I heard this: you broke your agreement. And when you've heard the truth about something, and you may not understand it, but you know it's the truth. And my spirit just had peace. And I didn't totally understand, but I knew that was the right answer. That was the answer to my question. And at that time, I had learned that Africa had been called a Kebulan, and that a Kebulan meant land of the spirit people. So I said to myself, using my own understanding, I said, well, we must have done something to God and we're being punished, just like that. Okay. Fast forward, after being in the church, getting, accepting Jesus as my Savior, et cetera, I'm in ministry. And my ministry at the time was during the time when dance was being incorporated in the praise and worship of the church. And, people were kind of resisting, dancing. You don't dance, we shouldn't be dancing. But I had danced in the world. And then when I came into the church, I had given that up. I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. But the Most High had something else in store for me. And he used that to bring the Holy Spirit by movement into that church and to other churches. And so all this time I'm in the church and I'm going through Bible studies and so on and so forth. And that situation, that instance, that experience of hearing that we broke an agreement, that went in the recesses of my mind. I never thought about it again. Okay. So as I said, I'm in the church, I'm in ministry, I'm leading a dance troupe. I danced not by choreography, but I danced by the Spirit. And I danced according to what the music, it was like I understood it to be like jazz. And jazz, you have the melody of the song, and then at some point the musicians go off on their own, basically within the confines of the song. Well, that's what it was like for me to dance by the Spirit. And I said, and I would say to the Spirit, I said, all right, this is your part. This is my part, in the song. Okay. But I never knew when that was going to happen. Okay. So I'm in ministry. A sister comes to the church, a woman comes to the church who is a prophetess and a missionary. And through the pastor, she becomes important to us, and she starts ministering to the church. And she, by the Spirit, she says that I'm to come with her to Africa. And I'm flabbergasted because I had been praying and asking the Father to go to Africa. I was going to go, and I would go and teach English. I could go do that. I'm not going to go empty-handed, so on and so forth. If you open the door for me, that's what I'm going to do. But nothing seemed to be happening. And then sister came and said to me, the prophetess came to me and said, you know, the Lord wants you to come with me to Africa. I want to, you know, train you in ministry. That was part of her ministry, to train women in ministry. So there were a lot of ways where the Father intervened to create the funds for me to go. And I went to Ghana, my first trip to Africa, my only trip so far to Africa. And I can't tell you what it was like stepping your foot on that soil, but I was never the same. I was never the same. But my second thing that I want to share is what happened, my first experience at a church where we were scheduled to minister. There was another sister who was along with us whose ministry, whose gift was her voice. So what we would do was she would sing and I would dance, and then the prophetess would come forward with the word. Okay, well, so here we go. This Sunday morning, we were scheduled, of course, you know, to minister to, and I go, I'm on the stage. They call me onto the stage, and I'm on the stage standing. And this song is one of the songs that I had ministered many times in my home church, and I knew the song. And I'm standing there, and I'm hearing the musician, the pianist, playing the opening chords of the song. And all of a sudden, I cannot remember anything. My mind was totally wiped clean. I didn't remember the steps that I had ordinarily done at this particular point at the beginning. I didn't remember anything. And I'm standing there, and the music is the introduction is playing. And I said, Father, I don't know. I can't remember anything. I don't know what to do. I'm standing here on the stage before these people, and I don't remember anything. I need help. And he said to me, just take a step. And I took a step, and it's like I stepped into another realm. I don't remember till this day any of the movements that I did. And I don't remember the song. I don't remember anything. It was like I was in another realm. But what stayed with me was the lesson. Just take a step. And so that's those two instances I wanted to share. And then in 2015, 2016, my late husband and I, both involved in the church, ministered in the church, we began to wake up. We began to wake up. And then that moment in my room came back to me. After 50 years, almost 50 years, I'm 76, 50 years had gone by since that day. And I asked, Father, why didn't you wake me up? Why didn't you explain to me? Why'd you let me go through all of that? And he said, I wanted you to know. I wanted you to know. And that's another thing that I have learned, that he wants us to know. He wants us to know him. He wants us to know. He has made us to know and to learn and to know. So I'm very thankful that I know who I am in him. I know who I am as he made me in this earth. And I'm thankful that he is my father, and I'm thankful that I'm part of this family. Praise the Most High.
All right. Thank you, Sister Jewel. 4 awakenings.
Yes.
What's your testimony for awakening?
Hello, Shabbat Shalom, family. So my testimony is, it happened many years ago. I guess about 30 years ago. And I was newly saved. And I was renting a flat up over my landlord. And she went to my church. And so I went to a praying church, and we had prayer every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. And so my landlord, she liked to pray. So she said, well, before we go to prayer, she said, we getting ready to go to prayer. I didn't have a car. Okay. I was unemployed. Okay. And so she was, taking me to prayer and to church on Sunday. And so she said, well, I like to pray before I go to prayer. And so I said to myself, okay. So I went upstairs to my flat and I said, well, I'm going to try this. I'm going to pray too, before we go to prayer. So I knelt down in my little prayer closet, which was at my living room sofa, and I began to pray in tongues. And so I was praying in tongues, and I was praying. I was going forth in tongues. Ashanda coming in the Honda. Hokomosaya, Roshoto. I was going forth, and those tongues, they were strong and very forceful. And you remember that part in the Bible when Zipporah, Moses' wife, took that sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son because the Lord was coming to kill him because Moses hadn't circumcised him. I envision that a lot of times because the scripture said that the Lord was coming. So when I was praying in them tongues, it felt like that, very forceful. The Lord, he was working through me. He was working through me with these tongues. Then all of a sudden, the tongues stopped, and I started calling out, Michelle! And I'm quiet. I live a quiet life. My landlord is quiet. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm loud. I hope I don't disturb my landlord. And I kept hollering out, Michelle! And them tongues was boom, boom, shakalaka, boom, 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 shakalaka, boom, boom. Michelle! And it was like I was calling her from Africa. And so I finished up the prayer. And then we got ready and we went to prayer at the church. So at the church, you walk to the sanctuary to the right. There are some steps, and you go up the steps to the upper room. There's a wall on each side of the stairs. You go up the stairs to the upper room. You turn left, there's the upper room. You go in there. And when we prayed, we would stand up and hold hands in a circle. Or in this case, the girl who was leading the prayer, whose name was Michelle, because I thought when I was calling out her name, I said, okay, because she had been blessing us with a word of prophecy in prayer every week. And I said, okay, well, the devil is trying to come against Michelle because she's been blessing us with a word of prophecy, encouraging us and stuff like that. So the devil is trying to come against her. So the Lord got me praying for Michelle so the devil won't be successful and trying to do what he's trying to do to Michelle. So we got there and Michelle had a back injury. So we would sit down in chairs in a circle and hold hands and pray. And so before that, we had got there early, like 9:45. And so we were sitting there, we were talking, giving people time enough to get there. And this one girl named Darlene, she said, yeah, I met this lady out somewhere in the streets, wherever she was. She said, and I invited her to prayer. And we was like, oh, okay, that's nice. We'll have a guest for prayer. And so we waited, and then we waited till like 15 minutes after 10 o'clock to give the girl time to get there, and she didn't show up, so we went on ahead and prayed. So after we prayed, we were sitting there talking, and about 15 to 20 minutes went by. We were talking, and the next thing you know, this woman busted in the door. And Darlene was like, oh, Michelle, I'm so glad to see you. We thought you weren't coming. Everybody, this is Michelle. This is the lady that I was telling you about that I had invited to prayer. And so she sat down with us and we prayed, and she began to tell us her issue that she was going through. She had female type surgery, and her live-in boyfriend, which was the father of her son, left her while she was on her sick bed. And she was contemplating suicide. And so when she said that, when she told us that, I was like, wow, wow. So that's why the Lord had me calling out Michelle like that. And I began to tell them how the Lord had me calling her name. I mean, I was calling her like, you know, like she was in Africa. I was calling her. It was deep in my spirit. And so after everything was over, I asked her, well, what was your boyfriend's name? And she said his name is Winston. And just so happened that Winston is my girlfriend Betty's ex-boyfriend. Betty has 2 children by Winston. So when she said Winston, I said, Winston, Makita, Mianakita, and Nuki's father? She said yes. And I said, wow. Wow. Because I had been asking Betty about Winston because she was keeping me up to breast about how Winston was doing. And lately she had said that Winston had left his woman on her sick bed. I had never met this woman named Michelle. Anyway, to make a long story short, she got saved, joined the choir, got filled with the Holy Ghost speaking in tongues, and the rest is history. But what that taught me was that scripture that says, be not weary in well doing, for you shall reap in due season if you faint not. And I called as an intercessor. I didn't know that back then. I know it now. And I just want to encourage the saints that whenever the Most High impresses upon you to pray, pray. You know, pray through your sickness, pray through your pain. If you're weary, if you're tired, just pray anyway, because you never know who you're praying for and who the Most High is going to use you to save, set free, and deliver, you know. And so that's my testimony right there. And I thought that that was like, it was miraculous because he showed me that what that showed me was he'll let you see the fruits of your labor. Sometimes he will. And that time he did. And I'm grateful for it. So that's my testimony.
Thank you for awakening, Sister Barbara Turner. And unmute yourself.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I hear you. Sound good.
All right, great. I want to say shalom to everyone. God has always shown himself to me. Back in the early 1990s, I was walking around my job, and I'm going to get to my daughter, but this leads up to it. I was walking around my job like I do every day, praying on my lunch break. And this particular day, all of a sudden, the Holy Spirit ascended down on me. And when I've told people that, they look at me like I'm crazy, but I feel comfortable telling you all because we family. And the I could see it, but you couldn't see it. And it was coming down from the sky, and it came around and it hovered over me, and then it came around and looked me in my face. And that was, I can't tell you the feeling that took place. And I was afraid because I've never felt anything like that. I knew what it was, but I didn't know what it was. So I just went back into the building. And then from that point, and like I said, God has always been in my life and shown himself in my life. And then in 2005, I was asking God about why, we have to, as Black people, keep going through all these hateful attacks and all this stuff. And he told me then that I was a Hebrew. And that's why, because I was his. I belonged to him. I was his child. So moving forward, a lot of things. I ended up getting into the ministry, went through ministry training, went through deliverance training, went through healing training and all of that. So in 2010, my youngest daughter, it was her first day of school, her senior year, first day of her senior year in high school. And I took off from work that day because she get out of school at 2, I get off at 3. So she would always be already home. She walked home. So that was first day of school. So they put her in some wrong classes. So I took off to take her up there because the parents have to come up there and change their schedule. So they told me, don't worry about it. It's too crowded. There's too much going on. Just come back. So, I hugged her and told her, I see you when you get home so you can tell me about your day. So I had an oldest daughter who had a job interview. So I took her on her job interview, came back home about 12:31-ish, and just sitting on the couch waiting on my daughter to come home from school so she can tell me how her first day as a senior was. So I ended up falling asleep on the couch. And all of a sudden, this loud bang woke me up out of my sleep. It was so loud, you could hear it for miles. I woke up and I jumped up. I looked out the window because it wasn't even supposed to have been raining today. It's supposed to be sunny all day. So when I looked out the window, which I had the curtains open, I saw it was raining. And I said, oh, my God, that's strange. And I said, my daughter didn't take her umbrella with her. I said, so I hollered to my oldest daughter. I said, if Tierney happened to call, let me say this, that we only live 5 minutes away from the school. I mean, you can see the school from my house. So, but I wanted, because it was raining so hard, and I was off, I said, well, I can meet her, as she coming home, because my street, then it's a turn right on this other street, and in the back of the, turn another right, you're in the back of the street running down the back of the school. And I'm nervous, so bear with me. So I said, if she called, tell them I'm on my way. But before I can get my keys and out the house, her friend had gotten her phone and called me and said, Miss Turner, Tierney, I've been struck by lightning. I said, oh, no problem. I'm on my way. But I'm thinking, I'm finna see her, sitting on the sidewalk, holding her arm or holding her leg, But when I turned that corner, I saw my child laying in the street, and they were doing CPR on her. And the Holy Spirit told me to get my umbrella. So I reached in the back for my umbrella, and it wasn't there. He said, it's in the trunk. So I got out, got the umbrella. Went and ran, and I took the umbrella, and I was holding it over the teachers, or not the teachers, the parents that was giving her CPR. So I started praying to God and his promises to me. And that's all I kept doing, was repeating his promises and binding the enemy, because we can pray, but God will send the answer, but Satan will intercept. And it talks about that in Daniel, how Daniel prayed, and God sent the answer, and the angel was held up in Persia, and Michael the archangel had to come get him out. So I was speaking, praying God's promises, and then binding Satan. So finally, and all the parents were calling the ambulance and the fire department, and you could hear them, but they never would show up. And come to find out, and I've talked to the doctors and nurses and the fire people, and we're friends on Facebook and whatever, and they told me that they went to the school first, the front of the school, and they told them they weren't having no problems and sent them away. And so, but the people kept calling and saying, no, they need, we're in the back. So they finally gave them a address or a street where we were in the back of the school. Forgive me, because as a mother, I never grieved from seeing all of that my child went through. So forgive me. So they finally figured out where we were. So they was coming around the school, around the back parking lot. So everybody was, waving their hands and yeah, over here, over here, over here. So here they coming. So we so happy. So all of a sudden they slammed on brakes. The school had locked the back gate where they couldn't get out. The fireman jumped out the fire truck and ran down there where we were. He told them to cut that lock off of that gate. And the cars moved out the way for them to get to my child. When he got to my child, one of the parents that had been doing CPR on my daughter looked at him and told him that it was too late. Wasn't nothing we can do. She's not alive. She's not gonna make it. And he scolded her. He said, "You don't know what God can do, and you can't make that decision." And when I looked at her face and she looked at mine, I just cried out to God as loud as I could. I said, "Father, come see about me." And the ambulance people pulled up and they said, "Get to the hospital. We're gonna, strap up or whatever, and we're gonna meet you at the hospital." So got there, and I'm trying not to go through every little thing that God did, but got to the hospital and the nurse came after to me and said that the doctor said there was nothing else they could do. And let me say, before that, for 2-3 months before it even happened, God was telling me to pray the Lord's Prayer, and he kept telling me to recite, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." So I was just really honing in on that. So the nurse came out and told me that doc said they done everything. I said, "Well, God told me that he was going to save my child. He told me before it even happened." So she said she went back in there and told the doctor, she said, "God said he going to save her child." And the doctor said, "Well, I guess I better keep working on it then." And come to find out, he was an atheist. And so he come out there and told me, again, I've done everything. I said, "Well, let me see her." So I went to her room where she was. And I began to start praying to God even louder, even harder. And the nurse was in there. And so they sent the chaplain in there to basically make me accept that my child had passed. And I was like, "No, I'm not going to accept it." And he was like, "Well, you get, just go and accept it. She's gone." I'm like, "No, I'm not going to accept this." I said, "Because I know what God promised me." So I continue on praying. And so finally, he just started praying with me. He joined in with me. And next thing we know, my daughter woke up. My sister, my cousin had her hand. She raised her hand up and a tear came out of her eyes. And they, of course, threw me out because they needed to, put whatever they need to do for her. And it was just so many people in that waiting room and hospital. I mean, from the police and the school and from the I can't think, but anyway, so they ended up taking her to the children's hospital here in Memphis. So we had to drive there, and we got her to La Bonheur. And so they worked on her because she was still underage. So they worked on her, and she was trying to breathe because the lightning strike just shut her completely, not shut everything down. So she had to learn how to do everything all over again. She was like a newborn baby. She couldn't even hold her head up. She couldn't do anything, and it affected her vision. And the lightning strike hit her in the top of her head, went down, burnt her bra, came down her legs, and came out the top of her foot. And she got burned. She had burns, lightning burns on the top of her foot and on her side and all that, and on the top of her head here is where the lightning struck her. So we ended up, I just kept praying day and night. I never let up. I kept believing God. And the neurologist one day came, and if I'm going too long, y'all let me know and I can stop. But the neurologist came to me one day. I think she had been there a week, so that she was in the intensive care for a week. And then she had stabilized enough to where they put her in her own room, but she still wasn't she was conscious, but she wasn't conscious. And they were saying she's going to be a vegetable for the rest of her life. That's what the neurologist was telling me, and I need to go home and fix her rooms to receive invalid, and to call the school and tell the school she wasn't coming back. And I like, no, I'm not going to change her room. I'm going to keep her room just like it is. And I'm going to call the school and give them praise reports on her. I said, because God told me he was going to heal my child. And she was like, well, you know, having faith is all great, but you got to face reality. And I was like, God is my reality. And she went and got the scans of her brain and showing me, you see all this gray matter. There's no way she can live through this. And there's no way she's going to come out of this, and she's going to be an invalid. And you have to face the fact. I said, no, God is the facts. I said, you got to face the fact that God is above you, and it's his decision. And he already done told me, he was, you know, when he put me through this, that she was going to come out of this. So long story short, so they kept saying they really wasn't really taking care of her like they should have, because they thought she was an invalid. And I kept telling them, no, my daughter's in there. So push come to shove, they did a little surgery on her, and she was in pain, and they wouldn't give her no pain pills because she's an invalid, you know. And my sister put a warm towel on her face because she had surgery on her teeth, and in the hospital, and she stopped, you know, fidgeting and crying and whatnot. So the doctor come running in there because he couldn't believe it, because how is she feeling if she's an invalid? So that's when they sent us to Atlanta to the brain hospital. She had a anoxic brain injury hospital. And so she stayed there because we left on the 16th of September, and we ended up leaving in February. But she recovered. She's walking. She started walking, and it was a slow, grueling recovery for her, because one of the reasons, because they thought she was an invalid, and they didn't treat her like they should have, like, you know, giving her the physical therapy and occupational therapy. And so she laid in the bed, and her muscles and stuff began to draw up, and so she was in a lot of pain. So they sent us to Atlanta in the ambulance. And so on the way to, and God was telling and doing every step of the way. I mean, I couldn't do nothing. He was leading God the whole time. So on the way there, she was fidgeting and crying and in pain, and I just couldn't understand. I just kept praying. And God told me, he said, those, you know, they put these boots on you to keep your feet from drawing up or whatever. And God told me, he said, take them boots off of her. And when I took them boots off of her, she stopped crying. And so we, you know, went the rest of the way. You know, she went the rest of the way to Atlanta in comfort. And just, you know, while we were there, you know, she went leaps and bounds, and they were just shocked how she was coming back, and they had to teach her everything, how to walk.
So Sister Barbara, not, you know, we're gonna have to move on, but can you let us know how she's doing today?
Sure, she's right here.
Hi,
This is
Wow, praise the Most High. How you doing?
I'm good.
You look great. You went through all of that?
Yes.
Wow. Praise the Most High. Wow, that's a miracle.
Thank you so much. I know it was a lot, but God did so much. And I want to make sure y'all got to understand it. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister Barbara. Antonio.
Oh, Minister Yakoba, it's good to see you. Thank you for having me.
How you been?
I've been all right. Blessed and highly favored, as they say. Panel, everyone listening, shalom. It's good to see you all. It's a blessing to be here. So I'll make it quick. I see we winded down on time, so I'll make it quick. So I've got two interventions that the Most High revealed himself to me. First was, for the majority of my life, I was essentially harassed by evil spirits, by demons, essentially. Ever since I was a child. My downstairs neighbor, she practiced voodoo, and all kinds of bad stuff came in through that. I had horrible nightmares as a kid, being murdered by like crazy looking demons and monsters, witches, all kinds of things being in my dreams as a child. I used to suffer from sleep paralysis every so often. That wasn't a super frequent thing. So I'll fast forward from my childhood to my adulthood. So I'm an adult. I'm living in Jacksonville, Florida at the time. Just got out the Navy. And I didn't have a good time in the Navy. I mean, worldly speaking, I had a fantastic time. But spiritually speaking, it was the worst thing that could possibly happen to me. I drank a lot. I fornicated a lot. Had a horrible mouth. You know how the military life can be and what it can do to you. So essentially, I opened the doors, the gates, and they were wide open for all kinds of demonic activity in my life. And I had just gotten married to my wife. She was baptized, born again believer in Jesus Christ. She was a Christian, and she moved in with me. She moved down to Jacksonville. We moved in, and all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose when she moved in with me, because things started happening whenever I was alone in the house. Doors would open and close. I'd hear weird noises in the night and couldn't find the source of it. I would wake up out of my sleep like as if someone was in the room with me and there'd be no one there. My bed would shake in the middle of the day at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. If I was taking a nap, it would shake and wake me up out of my sleep. My doors would slam shut, and I think it's my wife, and I would get up and run around the house looking for her, realizing she's not home. Just all kinds of terrible things. And then sleep paralysis started kicking back in when I was an adult. So in specific, one night, this was around Halloween. This was before I was saved, before I even knew anything about the Bible. We were binge watching Paranormal Activity movies. We shouldn't have been doing that. Wicked. And I suffered from a really, really bad case of sleep paralysis during that time. The worst. It felt like pure evil was in the room with me. Like I couldn't move. I couldn't move an inch. Not a single muscle in my body I could move. And it felt like a murderer was in the room and wanted to just kill me in the most terrible way possible. It felt literally like Satan himself was in the room, like staring me down. So eventually, it went away. It just stopped on its own. I didn't even do anything. I guess it had its fun torturing me, and it left. So after I explained to my wife the strange things that were happening, because they never happened when she was around, she told me that we need to pray, and how come you didn't tell me these things? And I'm thinking, it's all in my head. I didn't know this stuff was real. So one night, I was sleeping, and I heard my name called, Antonio. And I thought it was my wife, and I got up and looked at her. She was sleeping. So, all right, maybe I was dreaming. I heard my name called again, Antonio, this time a little bit louder. And I looked at my wife. I jumped up. She jumped up, and she says, "What's wrong?" I said, "Did you just call my name?" She says, No, I'm asleep." Okay. So we lay back down, and I hear my name yelled in my ear as if someone else was laying in the bed right next to me. They yelled in my ear. They yelled my name, Antonio. And I jumped up, and I saw a shadow move across the room, a huge shadow, like I don't know, like 8 or 9 feet tall, move across the room and fly out the window. And then I heard all these voices in my head, and my wife jumps up, and I'm saying, "Babe, you don't hear all those voices? Do you hear all those voices?" She said, "I don't hear anything. Just, what are you talking about?" And as soon as she says that, all the voices stop. And then I said, "Babe, there was a chorus of voices just now, and I couldn't make out what any of them were saying because they were all talking at the same time." So she said, "Okay, I see what's going on. This is what we're going to do right now." And this was at like 2, 3 in the morning. She got out her Bible, and we read we read chapter after we read the Bible for like hours. And then she got up and she got some olive oil and she blessed every entrance, every window, every door in the house. And then the next day I said, I want to get baptized. And we talked to our pastor, because I had just started going to church. We talked to our pastor, and we went to the beach actually. So I got baptized in the ocean. And the moment I got baptized, when I went under that water, and when I came up, when I tell you something left me. Like it felt like like a weight. It felt like darkness. It felt like a heavy vapor left me, like something was just gone. And I just felt different. And it didn't impact me really it didn't hit me hard until like a week later, when I realized how different, how calm I was, and how my anxiety was almost non-existent. Like it was just all gone. And at that point I knew he was real. I said, God is real. This is real. This is real stuff. And my wife thought it was kind of funny, because she was like, yeah, of course it's real, because this is how she had always lived. But to me, this was brand new. And I was like, man, this is a ride. This is a trip. So fast forward to 2019, summer 2019, I was led to do my first fast. I did a water fast for 12 days, straight water. And he started giving me dreams. I'll go down really quick so somebody else can jump in. First dream, essentially all the dreams were about family. So the most enigmatic dream that I had was the last one, which doesn't, to this day, it's hard for me to quite understand. So essentially the dream takes place underground in a cavern system. And there's a bunch of paramilitary guys, males and females, all dressed up, and they're on some kind of mission. So they're having a briefing, and they all split up and they run down this cave, and they all head down different caverns as they run down this long cavern in a group, and these other caverns open up next to them. They break off. Now the leader of the group runs into this short, I could say like a chasm between one side of the cave and the other, but he jumps across. And what's down there below is water. And when you fall down there, you can't climb back up due to how the edges of the walls are shaped. So he jumps across and he loses his footing and he falls back. And there's a brother who comes out of nowhere, the only brother in the whole dream, grabs him by the hand. And mind you, everybody else in this group is white. They all white people. Even the brother wasn't even there when they were having a briefing. He came out of nowhere, grabs this guy's hand, and they just look at each other. There's no emotion. There's no nothing. They don't say anything to each other. And he begins to lower this leader, the white guy, down into the water. And he doesn't fight him at all. He doesn't say, what are you doing? Pull me up. And he lets him go. And he just drops into the water. And this is where the dream changes to an anime style art. It went from being real to like kind of being anime. And the reason is because it gets bloody after this. And Most High knows that I don't do well with too much gore. So he knew how to give me the message.
Don't give us the gores, okay?
Okay, yeah, I won't give you guys the gore. So essentially one of the teammates was down there in the water with scuba gear and was trying to give it to him, when something from the wall, a creature, grabs him. All these arms, like I don't know, just a whole lot of these little yellow arms reach out from the cavern wall and they grab him and they pull him towards the wall. And this beast, that's something I can't even describe how it looks. It's just a monster. It looks like a cross between like a crab and a lizard, or like a sea serpent or something. And it devours him. I'll say it like that. But it's brutal though. How it does it is very brutal. And as this guy's yelling, his what comes out of his mouth as he's yelling is like putty or something, like a mold, like something's molding coming out of his mouth. And it's another head. It's his head this time. Like, it was weird. His head came out of his head. And he starts talking, but it's gibberish. It's like nonsense. It's like babble. And I'm shown an overhead view of what's happening. And it's like I'm being lifted up and I'm being pulled up. And I see down below me, I see there's a whole bunch of heads and they're all babbling and talking, but none of it makes any sense. And they all have those little arms that grab that guy. Their heads are all on the arms of this beast that grabbed this man and devoured him. And they're all talking the same gibberish, and I can't understand any of it. And then boom, I'm like, snatched up out of the dream. So I skipped over a ton of stuff to help save time for you guys. But I just wanted to say that Yah is real. He is all powerful and all knowing. It's just his blood covers my house. I pray for him all the time to never remove himself, never remove his power from my own. And he's real, and he saved me from myself. He saved me from Satan. He saved me from these demons, sleep paralysis, all that stuff. I've been living beautifully since then, since I've given my life to Mashiach. And and that's that. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Brother Antonio. Sister Donna. And unmute yourself. You there, Sister Donna? All right. So if she come back, we'll let her speak. So I'm going to read this testimony someone sent to me, and we're going to call that an end. And I'll just give her first name. I guess it's okay. I'll just call her Onyi. I'll call her Onyi. All right. So this is her testimony. She wanted me to read Yah's Supernatural Intervention, Part 1. It was September 2nd, 2007. That was a dreadful Sunday after church in the U.S. Just moved in with my sister and just got a job at her company where she was manager. For me to start the next day, my sister wanted me to wait for her and drop her off home. As she was coming out, she had two with her, in which one was pregnant, so I decided to back my car up as the passenger side was too close to the vehicle and no vehicle was on my side. As I was backing up, my sister started screaming, but I didn't know why, yet it startled me, so I thought I had hit my brakes hard, only to my worst nightmare. I hit the gas very hard and was still in reverse. A vehicle just pulled in on my side while I was backing up, and the driver of the vehicle's son opened his door as I was backing, so my car was closing their door with his leg out. Still startled, my car back up almost in the building next to the company I was hired, and as I stopped, I've seen a little girl lying on the ground. Also, though I cut the boy's leg off, I'm now terrified because I believed I ran her over and killed her, so I left the scene in fear. I drove straight to my children to tell them I loved them, gave them hugs, kisses, and gave my eldest daughter my wallet with all my money so they would be fine. I then went to a church on Gracia. I sat on the stairs praying as I was crying my heart out. Two church members came up to me trying to talk to me, but I kept praying and crying. I then received a call from my sister. The police was looking for me. So I spoke with a female officer and gave her my location because I knew the right thing would be to turn myself in. I get to Harper Woods Police Station, and within 4 hours, an officer came to me and told me my 2-year-old son was found wandering the street of 7 Mile and Van Dyke, in which that's not where I left him, and wondered how she knew it was my son. My sister lived off 8 miles, so I was like, how? I'm really scared now. The officer then asked me for my sister's address, but I didn't know it. I didn't know it because I moved there the day before. I didn't even know her number by heart as it was in my phone. So all I could do is give a description of where the house was, and I thought they would take me back home. The next day I spoke with a detective and told him my story. He said he knew I was telling the truth because he watched the video. He then told me that the lady whose daughter went under my car made up some lies, but that he will be totally on my side. So next I see the judge, and while he was talking in an inner voice, I was calling on the name of Jesus to show up at the moment. Yes, I called out Jesus. It was as I was demanding him to show up on my behalf. The judge looked at my records and seen I had no criminal history. And due to my tires not running over the little girl and her only receiving stitches on her lip, I was at a total relief at this moment because I thought she was dead and I was getting life. I would only go to a detention facility for 21 days. I started praising God. I'm now in a detention facility and I'm sharing a room with a woman that was gay, and I wanted no part. So I asked if I could be moved to my own room, and I was told no. Not even an hour later, I was called and sent to another room, a room completely to myself that was only God. And somehow I was at peace. We get called to eat dinner, and I see this elderly lady with a cane, not understanding why she would even be there. She tell me her story, and I was telling her that she shouldn't be here. She could be at home waiting for her court date, that they could just put her on house arrest. She didn't know what that was, so I told her to give me her probation officer name so I could write her. I wrote a letter to the probation officer asking that the elderly lady could go home on house arrest, wearing a tether and some more stuff I said. She gave it to her officer the same day. The next day, the elderly lady was granted and went home, but God. So now, this day, I speak to a lady with her daughter. Their crime was the worst all of ours, as everyone locked up with me only had traffic or drug offenses. They had attempted murder cases. I asked them if they knew God, and the mother responded, not well. So I offered to read the Bible with them every day. A few days in, this one lady asked if I could braid, and I told her yes. And so I was braiding her hair. Another lady walked up to me and told me she had to shake my hand because of a glow that was surrounding me. I thought nothing of it, shook her hand, and continued braiding. Day 10. I get a call very early in the morning that I had court, not knowing what for. As I arrive, I'm sitting in this room trying to figure out what's going on. I get to the courtroom and find out that all my children were taken due to my 2-year-old that was found crossing the street by himself. I was like, Lord, what else can be worse than this? I already lost my job, all my income, my car, no home. Now now all my 7 children. I'm just in total pain, yet my faith was still there. I get back to the detention facility, waited in a holding cell, watched everyone leave but me. An officer came up to me asking for my name, then left. Moments later, he asked me why I was there. I told him from a hit and run. He told me I wasn't in their system. I wasn't even going to question him. So I was put in a temporary place, not the same place I was at first. Then I was released. I went to the place where all my things were, which was a bag full of food and snacks, and I gave it all to the mother and daughter. I was reading the Bible with, and I told them to continue in faith. Revelation 2:10 says, "Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that he might be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." I did only 10 days, was tried, tested, and blessed. I served a mighty Yah. To sum it all up, I won my case for my children and got them all back within 4 months. I've seen a lady and her daughter on the west side of Detroit months later. She said they won their case. I couldn't be more happy to know they were released. I received my license because it was my restitution cost of being free. I was blessed with a high income working for Apple Inc. I finished college with a bachelor's degree in HR management. I was able to move into a $400,000 home in Rochester Hills, Michigan. I was blessed with a brand new Dodge Charger 0 miles off the lot. I later started working in healthcare. I now own a healthcare company in the US. After completing my goals in America, I moved home here in Nigeria to continue the purpose of Yah. The purpose Yah had for me and my husband. We both now own a company in Nigeria. I'm never moving back to America. Only visit for business and family matters. In all things, no matter what you can't see ahead of you, walk in faith and know that Yah hasn't done for you today doesn't mean your tomorrow has no glory. All praise to the Most High Yah for never leaving or forsaking me, and to all glory I give to Yeshua for his supernatural intervention that stood with me in both courts and when I was in a detention facility, for it was his light that shined before me. All right. So Sister Donna, you back?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm still learning the computer. I know. It's
All right. So let's hear your testimony.
okay. I'm going to make it like super fast because I could talk fast. Okay. All right. Back in 2020, my sisters and I were living in the Blue Ridge Mountains, right? And it was a nice, warm summer day. Okay. Me and one of my sisters, we were in the barn, and the barn was a metal barn. We was on the second floor. There's one window on one side, and I was at the other window, way on the other side of the computer, right? Okay. All of a sudden, my sister was like, Jane, there's some black clouds outside, right? So I look out my window over there, and I didn't see anything, right? And so she says, it's moving fast. So I get up and I go over there and look, right? It was a big cloud, and it was moving fast, right? So I told her, I said, get your backpacks, get downstairs, and get over to the house, right? And hurry up, right? My other sister, she was unloading the pickup. So I'm grabbing my backpack, and I go to get downstairs, right? When I get downstairs, she's waiting at the door. I'm like, will you get to the house, right? Now, I'm sorry, I had to go to the bathroom, right? So I did stop to go to the bathroom. When I came out, the wind was blowing so hard, right? And my two sisters, they were on, like, we have like this handicap lift on the side of the house. They were both on the lift going up, but it was like going so slow, right? And honestly, I was scared. I was really scared because I said the only thing I could do was to run to the other side of the house and go up the stairs. But it was kind of like a long way, and I wasn't gonna make it. I just wasn't gonna make it, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do, right? And I was really panicking. I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything, right? So I said, okay. The first thing I did was I closed my eyes. I closed my eyes so that I wouldn't see what's happening, right? Because by not seeing what happened, it kind of cuts off the momentum of the fear to a degree. You know what I'm saying? So then I was like, okay, I'm panicking. So I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So then, like, I'm trying to get my head to work, right? Because sometimes when I want to pray in an emergency, it's like I draw a blank in my head, right? So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Right? So I'm thinking, okay, Father, in my weakness, you're strong. And then I'm thinking, I need your help. And then I'm trying to think, I'm trying to get some scriptures. I'm trying to figure out what to do, right? So then I'm remembering, I'm like, okay, Yeshua was on the boat. He was sleeping and it was peaceful and the storm was raging, right? Then I'm remembering that he gave us dominion over everything in the earth. Then I'm remembering, okay, everything the Father gave to Yeshua, he gives to us freely. Then I'm thinking the mustard seed, you can talk to the mountain, it'll move. All of this is going through my head, right? And I'm realizing, okay, I'm much calmer now, right? So I was like, okay, I drop my bags. I plant my feet solid on the ground, right? And then I look up to the sky, and I open up my arms. And then I said, in the powerful name of Yeshua, and by the powerful blood of Yeshua, I command you to stop. And I command you to pass away from us, and that you must obey, right? I'm not going to say that I was surprised, because I expected Father to work on my behalf. You know what I'm saying? Because the scripture says that anything that we can think or anything that we can imagine, through his power in us, he can do that. And I know it sounds so crazy, right? But my mom always taught us that you have to pray in everything, no matter how little or how small. And I looked up, and it was coming over the trees, and it came to a stop. And I turned my hand slowly to the left, and it obeyed, and it went right around. It went right around. And then by that time, the elevator was down, and I got in that elevator. later, and me and my sisters went in the house and we just started praising the Most High. And we didn't even know it was a tornado because we've never seen a tornado and we've never lived through a tornado. But the people on the radio said it was a tornado. We didn't lose power. We didn't lose anything. We had a little bit of rain, just a little bit of rain. And I thought that my story would be like so insignificant. And I heard that voice inside, because fear always try to get a hold of me all the time. And that voice inside said, no. It says somebody needs to hear this. Somebody needs to hear this. And so I don't know who needs to hear this, but somebody needs to hear this. So what he do for me, he can do for anybody, whether it's the rain, whether it's keeping the police away from your door, because I have a lot of experience in that too, because I had a brother that run the street, right? And they stayed on the outside of that door and they went on about their business. So we have to pray within everything. And just let me say one more thing. I just want to thank you for being so brave enough to have that global day of prayer, because for a long time I would be praying and worshiping and it feel like my prayers don't be getting heard, or my worship is not strong and it's not going through. But after that day of prayer, I was just singing just because I wanna, just singing. And then all of a sudden, I just got this vision of everything, just like all of these faces of all of these people that were together praying. And I knew in my spirit, I knew it was showing me that day. And then I heard his voice saying, I hear you. I hear you. And that's what I needed to hear. I needed to know that he hears my prayers and that we, as a united people, he's hearing us. So I want to just thank you for giving me that opportunity to share my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Sister Donna, and panel. Thank you all for sharing your testimonies. And the interesting thing is, the reason why I wanted to do this, because I was talking to twin daughters, and they were telling me their testimonies. I was like, man, that's awesome. I mean, we need to share this thing. And I felt in my spirit that it was good that we share this, because I know everybody else probably had great testimonies, and you all definitely have great testimonies. But as I was listening to this, the Most High put in my spirit that the reason why you all need to know this is because you're going to need miracles. The reason why you need to know this because the times we're in, we need supernatural intervention. And don't fear, right? Don't walk in fear. Don't act like, how am I going to survive this? How am I going to eat? How am I going to support myself? It's already done. Just have faith, right? So what I want to do right now, quick, is I want to have a prayer, just to give the Most High all the glory, honor, and praise, right? Because he's faithful and he's always there, and he's our Father. And no matter what anybody says, they tell you you're not the people, you are the people, and you know it. And those miracles that you have in your life, that's because you're his people. That's because you are chosen. Because what? You're going to be a testimony of how great he is to what? The nations. You're going to fulfill the promises to our people that he gave. You're going to be a testimony, a living witness. And don't let nobody gaslight you and tell you it don't matter, that we all the same. We're all not the same. We're not. Chinese are not the same as Negroes. Negroes not the same as Caucasians. We're not the same. Now, we all might be human, but we're different people, just like you got different flowers. You got different animals. Don't let nobody tell you we're all the same. We're not, right? But guess what? We all have to enter into the kingdom the same way. That's by faith in Yeshua, right? So let me pray right quick. Heavenly Father, we come before you in the name of our Lord and Savior, Yeshua HaMashiach. We thank you for these testimonies, oh God. We know that what you have done in our lives, you are doing in all people's lives, and especially your own, your chosen. And those who have faith in you are going to do signs and wonders. According to your word, oh God, you're going to heal the sick. You're going to let the blind see. You're going to let the deaf hear. You're going to let the lame walk. You're going to work through us, as your word says. Yeshua says, greater works will we do because he goes to the Father. And we're hearing these testimonies, oh God, so that we can have faith. So when the times come, we can do signs and wonders, and the Gentiles will be drawn to the light of our rising. We know this is a move of Yah. We've never seen anything like this before, oh God. We see this so-called change, this miracle. What are the Gentiles usually call this? It's like the Azusa Street revival, right? Yeah, revivals. This is a revival of Israel. It is the awakening of Israel. And no matter what anyone say, they see the light. There's nothing they can do about it. And you're going to get all the glory, honor, and praise for the Yah, and we thank you for it. In Yeshua's name. Panel, I love y'all. I really enjoyed your testimonies. You know, we're going to have to do this again. I don't know if we have enough time to do it again with all the signs and wonders that's happening. But it was great that you shared your testimonies with the family, and I really appreciate it. So I'm going to put y'all in the back and, go enjoy the rest of your Sabbath.
Okay. Shalom.
Shalom. All right, family. Love y'all with the love of the Messiah. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending, and please support the Dry Bones Project.